everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hopefully the video quality is better. I got a new phone for Christmas and that's what I usually film on, so until I make enough money to buy an actual camera, this is what we are working with. Be prepared for a series of videos to come at you guys. I'm so excited to have more storage, a better camera, and just time on my hands to make and upload a ton of videos. So I'm super excited about that. But today's video, I just wanted to cover how I read 60 books this year. Well, my reading goal was 60. I'm about to reach 62 books. And I am a full-time college student. I have 2 jobs usually at school, trying to balance jobs, school, social life, different activities, and while also getting to read a ton. So I wanted to cover that and also just give you some tips. I have about 5 ways that you can start to read more going into the new year if you've ever wanted to read more or have seen other people reading a lot and you're just like, dang, how are they able to do it? I'm here to provide you guys some insight onto that and give you a couple of tips. So hopefully you can start reading more this new year. All right, so like I said, I have 5 tips and I'll also put in some book recommendations to kind of just to jumpstart your reading journey. So yeah, let's just get right into it. My first tip is to just simply read the books that you like. And this might seem self-explanatory. Though this might seem kind of self-explanatory, just read books that you like, I think that there's a lot of stigma around certain books, or people feel pressured to read only self-help books or really intelligent classics or just super big brain books, but it doesn't have to be that way. Just read the books that you like or that you think you're interested in, because at the end of the day, people are going to be more impressed with how much you read versus what types of books that you read. You could say, I read 60 books this year, and they'll be like, that is such a big accomplishment, congrats to you. They're not going to be like, well, what type of books, and judge you based on that. So I think just picking out the books that you like is the biggest thing to go by. Because if you have a book that you're forcing yourself to read, you're not going to be excited to read it, and you're just not going to care as much versus a book or a plot or characters that you're super interested in and that you really do want to read about and learn more about and see where the story goes. So for example, I love romance books, and it kind of seems just in general, romance has kind of been looked down upon or seen less than versus other book genres. Oh really, you're gonna go read a rom-com book, when in reality, or that's what you may think, but in reality, no one really cares that much. So just finding what you like. So just reading different genres and kind of picking out what genres you like versus what you don't like. So for example, I cannot do fantasy. I don't know what it is in me, but the second you start bringing fairies and goblins and dragons, I cannot. My brain doesn't go there. So I stay away from fantasy, and I don't force myself to read it because I know at the end of the day, I'm not going to want to, and that's just going to put me into a slump, and I'm not going to want to pick up a book because I'm not interested and I'm not thoroughly enjoying the plot. So just don't care about what other people think and find what is right and what is best for you, because at the end of the day, you're just reading for yourself. Try not to read to impress anybody else, because this is just a hobby for you, and just pick what you like because you're the only one reading the book at the end of the day. So some book recommendations to kind of get you into each genre. So for romance, these are some of my favorite books and some quick and easy reads to kind of just get you adjusted into the genre. So I have The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I have Hello Stranger by Catherine Center and All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. So I'm not going to go into the plot of all of these books because I have a lot of recommendations, but all of these are super fun, lighthearted, fluffy rom-coms to read, and they have a ton of different tropes in there that you can kind of get yourself familiarized with and be like, oh, I really like this style of writing and this trope and these characters. I'm going to read the author's backlist, or I'm going to read books similar to that. And then there you go. You have a whole list of books that you want to read because you're actually interested in the genre and the books and the plot. All right, moving on. For thriller, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So this is a young adult series, and it's not like a scary thriller. It's just it's really good at adjusting you into the genre. I have Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. That one was really scary. So if you're in the mood for a scarier thriller, I would pick that one up. And then The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And I find this is like a good happy medium for the thriller books because it isn't as like intense and scary as some of them, but it also like keeps you on your toes and just leaves you wanting more. So that's what I found with thrillers, is that it just constantly leaves you wanting more. Like each chapter, if it ends with a cliffhanger, you're like, I want to find out what happens next. And then before you know it, you finished a book in 2 days. So what helps me get out of a slump is reading a thriller book. For that same reason, is I'm gonna want to figure out what happens. Like I want to figure out a murder mystery and solve the murder and who's the suspects and who is guilty, versus some other books where the plot isn't as like intense or driven, versus thriller books. If that makes sense. I hope it does. But those are some of my thriller recommendations. And then for historical fiction, I have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and then The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. So all of these books, they take place in different time periods. So Carrie Soto takes place in, I think, the 70s or 80s, and that follows a tennis player. The Nightingale is a World War II story about two sisters living in France, I believe. And then The Queen's Gambit, if this sounds familiar, it's actually a TV series. So this follows a young girl, I believe, in the 50s and 60s in the US. So each of these books have historical periods or decades. So maybe you don't know it yet, but you like World War II novels. If you read The Nightingale, you're gonna like, wow, this stuff is so interesting. And trust me, there are a lot of books about World War II. But if you pick this book up, you're like, wow, I have so many other books to read about World War II and about like wars. Maybe you like reading about wars. And you have World War I, II, you have the Cold War, you know, all of those historical moments. So reading stories about that, maybe that piques your interest. And now you found something that you love. And now you have a list of books that you can read and that you're looking forward to reading. And finally, my last genre is science fiction. So I have 2 books. The first one is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and the second one is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. So Project Hail Mary follows a guy who he's destined to save the world. Like set in the future, he's like the only hope to save the earth, and it follows him in space actually. So that was really interesting. It follows him on a spaceship, and super good, super engaging, and the story is great, the characters are great, and it's a pretty like longer book, but I like flew through it because stuff with science fiction, especially if it's like a high stakes book like this one, like he's trying to save the world, you're like, what's gonna happen? Like, are all these people gonna die? Is he gonna find a way out? So that is a super nice, or a super like fun and engaging book. And then Dark Matter follows this scientist who lives in Chicago, and he's going through these different universes and he's like a physics scientist, so dealing with dark matter and going into these different universes. And I remember also reading this book in like 2 days because I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't want to give too much away, but it's also really good. So even if you don't think you'll be into science fiction, like I didn't think I would either. I thought that was kind of just, I don't know, like other people. But then I read my first science fiction book and I was like, holy moly, this is amazing. And then it led me down this train to read other books too. So yeah, kind of wrapping up my first main point, read books that you like. And don't care what other people think. Don't care that you're going to be judged. Read books that you like, because that is what is going to help you read more. Yes. My next tip is to read before bed. Instead of watching TV or YouTube or TikTok, I know it's really hard, I struggle with this all the time, just turn your phone off, like power it off, put it on airplane mode, chuck it across the room, and have a book next to you to read. Not only is this going to help like your circadian rhythm, it's going to help your body adjust to sleep, it's going to help your eyes, get rid of the blue light, and it's just, you know, you can read about all the health benefits of reading before bed. Like, I don't need to tell you, I'm just like girl. So what I do is I read on my Kindle every night before bed. My Kindles are no blue light, and I have the Kindle Paperwhite, so it resembles a book. And what's really nice is I can turn off all of the lights and read on my Kindle, and it's not gonna affect my eyes. And what's nice about the Paperwhite is that there's light and dark mode on it too, so you're able to adjust it. If you're reading at night, put it on dark mode, or if it's the daytime, read it on light mode. So that's really nice too, kind of adjusting your eyes and your brain for nighttime. And for me, I just read until I fall asleep, and it helps me sleep better and just fall asleep quicker versus being stimulated by my phone and by the blue light. If I'm just reading on my Kindle before bed, it really only takes me like, I don't know, 15 minutes to really start to get sleepy. And it's hard. A lot of the times I'll end up picking my phone back up, but you have to have that discipline, turning your phone off. And I think it's like 14 days to create a new habit. So if you try to push through, read every night before bed for 14 days, you're going to have a new habit, and it's going to be one that helps you sleep better and fall asleep quicker. And also, my dog wanted to make an appearance. Say hi, Bobby. Or don't. Want to make a new habit, like it only takes a couple of weeks, and you have a new habit that will help you fall asleep quicker, help you sleep better, and accomplish your reading goal at the end of the day. All right, so my next tip is to just have a reading goal. So have something that you're working towards. So if you set a reading goal at the beginning of 2024 I want to read 12 books a year. That is only one book a month, and in my opinion, that is totally doable if you read before bed and you're reading something that you like, and you are working towards it too. Like, let's say you have a really busy month and you're not able to read, you're like, shoot, I have to read 2 books this month because I really want to reach that goal. So just having an incentive is huge, having something that you're working towards. So if you are starting out, I would recommend 12 books a year, so that's 1 book a month. Or if you really want to challenge yourself, you could do 52 books a year, and that is 1 book every week. So depending on your schedule and what the upcoming year looks like for you, setting these goals will be super helpful. Having something that you're working towards, I'm sure there's a lot of science and psychology behind it. And going along with this, always having a book that's in rotation. So if, let's say you finish 1 book and you don't have anything else picked out, or you don't have anything else you want to read, it's going to be really easy to fall off the reading train and really hard to pick that habit up again. So always having a list of books that you want to read, maybe at the beginning of the year, being like, I want to read these 10 books throughout the year, or I want to read 30 books this year. I already have 15 I have picked out that I want to read. Always having a book in rotation and just having a book to be read is super good too, because you're finishing 1 book and you're like, I'm so excited to read this next book. Or your favorite author comes out with a new book, you're like, I'm so excited to read that. So you're going to be more inclined to finish the book that you're reading now faster so that you can read that next book. So having a goal, having books always in your rotation is huge. And some people like to read multiple books at once. I personally don't, just because I get confused and I just would rather focus on 1 book at a time. But if you do like reading multiple books at a time, do that, because it helps you stay accountable, finish up the books, and you'll finish up 2 books instead of 1 if you're reading 2 at the same time. and just keeping yourselves accountable. Tell your friends, tell your family, hey, I want to read 12 books this year. And if it's March and you haven't read any, they're going to be like, hey, like, how's the reading goal going? Having friends be like, hey, how's the reading goal going? And you're like, oh shoot, I barely read the first 3 months of the year. Like, I have to get on it and read 2 books this month instead of 1 to catch up. So always keeping yourself accountable for it too. Telling your friends and family, maybe have a friend with you that also wants to read a certain amount of books a year too, so you can check in on each other's progress. Maybe joining a book club, that can help you keep accountable too. If you're part of a book club and you meet every other Wednesday, you have to have a book finished by then. So that way you can discuss it. You have that whole club keeping you accountable too. So yeah, just keeping yourselves accountable, always having a book in rotation, and just setting goals too. All right, so my next tip is to make a date out of it. So I don't hear a lot of people talking about this more, but if you really like dedicate yourself to your reading goal, take yourself out on a date and bring your book with you. Maybe take yourself out to coffee or lunch, or go on a picnic, or go sit by the water, or go to a park. There's a lot of opportunities for this and unique ways that you can just get out of the house, bring your book, and just spend some good quality alone time, spend time reading, and just keeping yourselves entertained with that. So I love to go to the beach and read, and I know this is a luxury because not a lot of people live by the beach, but I'm blessed in the way that I can. So especially this summer, that is when I read the most. I would bring a towel, some water, and my book, and just go sit out at the beach, read my book for a couple hours. And that's nice because I don't have cell service, so I'm not tempted to look at my phone, because once I go on my phone, it'll be a long time before I get off. So not really having cell service, maybe just putting your phone on airplane mode so you're not getting any notifications, you're not distracting yourself, and really just taking some quality time with yourself, with your book. You know, I tried to romanticize this a lot, so going out into the water, grabbing like lunch. One of my vlogs, I think it's my alone time, an Adam Sandler vlog, I got a sandwich and I went to the beach and I sat there, I ate my sandwich and I read my book and I watched the sunset, and that was such a lovely night. So I highly recommend anybody to do that too. You don't have to just read your book, but really having some good quality alone time and going out into nature and bringing your book with you. And maybe do this like once a week or once a month, or just having it scheduled in so it can be something that you're looking forward to, going out to your favorite coffee shop, getting your favorite meal. And yeah, just have it be something that you're looking forward to, something that you can treat yourself with. Be like, I'm so excited to go to the beach, go to a park, and to just be alone and to read my book and to take some good quality alone time. So yeah, that's my 4th tip, is just making a date out of it, and it really does like make an impact, and it personally leaves me feeling like rejuvenated and just more like calm, that I got to regroup for a second, spend some time alone, and read my book, and I always feel more accomplished when I do that. Right, and then my last tip is just audiobooks. And this might seem like self-explanatory, you're like, Sari, I know, but trust me, audiobooks are a game changer. So instead of listening to a podcast or music when you're on a walk or you're commuting, I would try putting on an audiobook, because especially if you're busy with school or work and you're like, I just don't have time to read, or you're too stressed out to sit down and read, having an audiobook in your rotation is a great way to just chuck away at a few chapters at a time. If you are commuting, listening to it on your commute, going on a walk, doing the dishes, anything like that, like when you have a couple of spare minutes in your day, putting on an audiobook, that way you're able to still keep yourself accountable for your reading goals. And also, like personally for me, if I'm reading a book for like more than a week, I kind of just forget about the characters and I forget about the plot because it's been so long since I started the book. So that's why I like to read books a little bit quicker, just so I remember it better. So audiobooks are a great way to do that as well, because you're constantly listening to the plot or reading it if you have time at the end of the day. Especially like I like to listen to it when I'm getting ready for the day, or if I'm doing like my skincare at night. Having it on is really helpful, and it really does make a difference. There was one part in the semester when I was like really going through it and I just did not have time to like sit down and read at the end of the night. I would just like immediately fall asleep after 5 minutes of reading my Kindle. So listening to audiobooks really helped me like stay on track and like keep myself accountable for my reading goals. So I would not underestimate the power of a good audiobook and how that can help you. Personally, listen to it on the Libby app, and this is an app where you can electronically borrow books from the library and put it on your Kindle. So I use this app a ton, especially if you don't want to buy books. Books are expensive and they take up room, and like personally, I love the library. Like, why would I pay for a book when I can just read it? There are some books where I would like to like have the physical copy of, like some of my favorite books, or if I'm out at like a thrift store and I see books there, I'll buy them. But for the most part, I do use the library, and I either go out and get the physical books or I use the Libby app. Because I have a Kindle, this has been super nice. You don't have to like go out of your way to go pick the books up. It's automatically delivered to your Kindle or whatever reading device that you have. You can read it on your phone, on your laptop. And if you have a library card and account, it's free entertainment. What more could you ask for? So I love that. But I also know a lot of people will use Audible or Spotify. Those cost a little bit of money. I think Spotify, you have to have Spotify Premium to listen to audiobooks, and Audible, like, you have to have a subscription. But if you're really committed and you really are on that audiobook train, those are some places that you can get them. So in conclusion, I have given you guys 5 tips. So read books that you like. Just don't care what anybody else thinks. Read the books that you like. Read before bed, having a reading goal, making a day out of it, and just audiobooks. Those are my 5 biggest and best tips to read more this year. Start off small and work your way up to your reading goals, or maybe start out big, shoot for the stars, and really challenge yourself into reading more. Personally, I think that everybody can benefit from just reading a couple books a year, and it really helps you get off your phone, off of different TV entertainment, and just taking a step back and reading, unwinding your mind, stimulating it, or just getting lost in a book series, a book, characters, plot. And there's just a ton of great reading out there too. It's something that you can bond with over other people. Join a book club. That'll keep you social. Make use of your public library. And yeah, if you like this video and you want more book recommendations, please let me know. There are a ton of booktubers out there that'll give out great book recommendations, and they'll do similar styles to this. But please make sure to subscribe if you like this video, and I will catch you in my next one. I also just want to say thank you so much for your guys' support and nice comments. I read every single one of them, and just seeing that people actually care and watch my videos is so sweet, and I love making videos. So as long as people continue to watch it, I'll continue to make them. So thank you.